Good evening, good day, but likely good morning when you're checking on this video. Pelicans Daily presented by Fan Arch. I'm your host, Dylan Bruton. Make sure to like, to share, to subscribe. Support us for free, y'all. Support us for free. All right, let's get right to it because this is like my second or third attempt since my computer want to act up. All right, so it was scheduled day today. Excuse me. Very exciting day. A lot to look forward to. I don't know if y'all are as big of sports nerds and fanatics as me, but I go through the schedule, all 82 games, and I try as best as I can to mentally map out, which game is a win, which game is a L. And I did that a little bit, but I'm packing because I'm getting ready to move. So, hey, well, very excited. I'm going back to school, getting that master's in sports journalism. So, be on the lookout for a brother. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I'm gonna be in a whole new location, new setup, and all that. Y'all gonna love it. Y'all gonna love it. I can tell y'all that. And I'm gonna be. I might shoot episodes from different parts of my apartment. So y'all gonna enjoy that. But anyway, so that's just a little update of why, what I'm saying. But I was going through, and I mean, look, our first block of the season, it's not a walk in the park. But I think this team is ready. I think this team is going to show how ready they are by the time preseason hits. Though right now, I know there's just a lot of chatter. There's not much going on, so people are looking to fill the gaps. But once preseason hits, there's going to be a lot more questions being answered. Our very first game of the season is against the Memphis Grizzlies, which is going to be dope. Battle the 2019 class. South Carolina, you know what I'm saying? Ja Morant and Zion. For some people, they feel like neither of those guys have reached their fullest of ceilings, which I hear that and I agree with that, but it's not so doom and gloom. They're both still young. Ja and I are the same graduating year. Zion is a year after. There's still plenty of time for both of them. I'm not with this whole narrative that it's cooked, it's history for them. Like they're both in their mid 20s. Like y'all be talking about them like they 40, like they about to go apply for some ARP. Like what is going on? So anyway, but our first game is against Ja and the Grizzlies. I think we win that one personally. No diss, but I think we win that one. I think this team is just that nice and that legit. Uh, but shout out to my guy Chris Lambert, but he wrote a really dope article because our home opener is against those Spurs. And the last time we had an opener against the Spurs, y'all remember that was Zion's very first game. Very first game. Where he was over here drilling threes like he was Kevin Durant. You know what I'm saying? He was lefty, lefty. I was like, Zion, when did you get a 3-point shot? Where was this at Duke? Like we could have used this against Michigan State, but it's all good. But it's gonna be very exciting because you got a battle of two number one overall picks, Zion and Victor Wembanyama, both guys that arguably were the most hyped up number ones of like recent. Yeah, I mean, yes, you could throw Cooper up there now, but of the last like 5 years, like sorry, 6 years. Yeah, I gotta get my math right. I'm going to school for journalism, not math. Okay, but you gotta know a little thing or two. Don't get it twisted. I graduated undergrad magna cum laude. Just in case y'all forget. But in the last, okay, let's go last decade or so, right? They've been the hype has been huge for those two in particular, as far as face of the league type of prospects. And both of them have shown tremendous promise, right? I think Victor is. I will say this: I was not sold on the Victor train until that second summer league game, and then after that, I was like, okay, what am I talking about? This brother is the truth. And then when I found out he was a Star Wars fan, I was like, all right, wait, hold up, maybe I misjudged my guy a little bit. And just seeing how much of a student of the game he is, and how serious he takes his craft and how much he wants to be great, I think he might be the one to end all these pointless debates that you see the TV networks constantly push, with Jordan versus whoever. Look, Michael is the GOAT. Like, I don't know why we keep fighting it. You know what I'm saying? Until someone overpowers his legacy and outmatches him and outwins him, like there's not, and just transcends like that. Why even have this debate? Okay, and stop leaving Kobe out of it, please, for the love of God, stop. All right, I said my piece, but anyway, right? So the Spurs versus us, that's gonna be a great game. Last time we met in the playoffs was in 2008. That was when we had our best season, where we were just one game off of being the number one seed out in the Western Conference. Just one. And it was brutal because it was like, man, the two best players arguably the two best players in the whole year, Kobe and Chris Paul. And it came because we lost that game against LA. That was the game where Kobe hit that reverse dunk, and then when he was like doing this jersey, that became the cover of 2K10. Like, I'm telling y'all, I was there. I know a lot of y'all was there too, but I remember. Real ball knower. All right, but yeah. But the last time we matched up with the Spurs in the playoffs was in 2008. And it's unfortunate that things didn't materialize for us. We lost that, and the Spurs went to the Western Conference Finals because who knows? I mean, I don't know. Kobe was on a mission that year. I remember like Kobe was really out to prove that not only do I not need Shaq, I never needed Shaq. So like that, yeah, like that's like that time where like Kobe really was able to show the world like who he was all these years, even though real hoop heads knew who Kobe was. We knew what's up. That was a scary time. Like that man was not letting up on nobody. But it was a special time for us because that team was that team was special. You had Chris Paul playing best point guard in the league. Love Darren Williams, but no, he wasn't better than Chris Paul. I mean, I know it was a combo, and they both were drafted in '05. Yes, I'm aware. It was a great debate back in the day. But Chris Paul, to me, always cleared Darren Williams. Sorry. But we had a great team because you had David West in his prime as a pick and pop option, give you 20 and 8, 20 and 9. You had Tyson Chandler, one of the best rim running bigs, blocking shots. He really took his career to another level playing next to Chris Paul. Because before that, he was seen as a draft bust because he didn't fully materialize into the top player that Chicago thought they were going to get. Then you had Mo Peterson, who was one of the best 3-and-Ds for a long time in the league. Going back to his days in the Raptors, he was drilling threes and he was playing great defense in the end. And then speaking of threes, we had Peja Stojakovic. Peja Stojakovic is one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time. You know what I'm saying? All time. You could never leave that man wide open on the perimeter. You were dumb to do that. But this is going to be a big battle because there's some similarities between the two teams. And I think arguably, like I've said this on podcasts, I think the Spurs are the most likely team to make that leap. And I think we're just right after, right? I think we have the same type of potential. Things still have to materialize and whatnot, and with our health, but the future is mighty bright. And think about it, right? We got 2 number 1 overall picks who are incredibly talented, transcendent level talents, but they both have had injury struggles, and in different ways, in different forms. Then at the guards, right? We're loaded at the guard spot. They're loaded at the guard spot. They got De'Aaron Fox. They got. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze, y'all. All right, woo. All right, they got Stephon Castle, who just won Rookie of the Year. We got DeJounte Murray, who used to be a Spur, became DeJounte in that Spurs organization. We got Jordan Poole, who, I love Jordan Poole's game. He's out there, like I say all the time. He plays a lot how I used to play when I was fully healthy. And this goes off my friends who be watching, who think they go catch me slipping. Some of y'all was not there to witness prime Dylan. And that's Dylan before knee injuries, okay? I was fake out here a bucket. I'm not saying I would have gone pro, but I think I could have gotten some college paid for. Fully healthy, no trauma associated with basketball. I think I could have did some, but that's neither here or there. Um, and then on the wings, right? You know, on oh, and can't forget Jose. Can't forget about my guy Jose. Shout out to him. GTA Grand Theft Auto. But yeah, and then Jeremiah Fears. I mean, zero fears. He's gonna be special, right? So I like the different matchups in the guard and on the forward side, right? uh, Herb Jones and Kelvin Johnson, right? Ultimate glue guys that can do just about everything. I think, Kelvin's a bit more of an offensive player, but he can play. He's a great defender. And obviously, we know Herb is an amazing defender, but his offensive game. Don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on it either. He's been looking really good in the gym, too, so he might come out and do something crazy. Who knows? And then, really offensive wise, right? Devin Vassell for them, he's an absolute dog on the perimeter. And then we got a dog of our own in Trey Murphy the third. So I'm really excited for that matchup because those two, there's a lot of similarities in their play style. I think Trey is better, but I don't think it's that far of a gap. I think Devin Vassell is that dude for real. So I'm really excited for that matchup. So yeah, this is gonna be a really good game. If you are in town, or if you already got season tickets, go to that game. Take a girl. Go watch some Pelicans ball. Watch us at our best. That's gonna be a game that I think could very well come down the wire. And that's a game where I'm like, I think we can win that game. I don't think it's crazy, but it all comes down to we have to start on par. We have to be hitting the ground running. We can't be over here trying to do it like Rocky where we let ourselves get beat up and then come back. No, that's a game where we got to hit the ground running, play, hard pressure style basketball and make sure that we're really being steadfast. So very exciting stuff. But in continuation with the scheduling, got to talk about some of these Eastern Conference matchups. Now, everyone is focused on the Western Conference as they should be. The last six championships have been the four of the last six champions in the NBA have came from the West. But don't get it twisted. Don't sleep. There are some great teams in the Eastern Conference, and there's some teams who also, in lieu of the three Achilles injuries that happened in Milwaukee with Damian Lillard, in Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton, and in Boston with Jason Tatum, there's going to be some teams in the Eastern Conference that make a leap or that make an appearance in the playoffs and are going to make things a lot more interesting. There's some very good matchups. On November 22nd, we play the Atlanta Hawks and Atlanta. No rivalry like New Orleans versus Atlanta. I mean, football season wise, who that nation over here, baby. I ain't gonna lie. That Falcons team this year is gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice, and hats off to them. They've been building a roster. But look, once Mickey gets his head out of his what, and okay, we got some work to do in New Orleans, football wise. Basketball wise, I feel a lot more confident. But it's gonna be a good matchup though because they have our first round pick for next year. So there's gonna be some bragging rights at stake with that. DeJounte, he played there. Obviously, he's not gonna be back, but that means something. I really am gonna. I'm really looking forward to the matchup between Asa Newell and Derek Queen, right? UGA versus Maryland. Two different styles and conferences of basketball, but both versatile bigs that can play the 4 or 5, can handle the ball, can space the floor, soft touch. I really like that matchup. That's going to be a good one. And then, right, they enjoyed a very successful offseason. They acquired Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard, Nikhil Alexander-Walker. They still have Trae Young. Trae Young may or may not, he might finish the year out, or he might get traded in the deadline. Who knows, right? But they've retooled, just like how we've retooled, right? We got, saying Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. We also got Kevon Looney. We also traded for Jordan Poole. We traded for Sadiq Bey. And I think there's a lot to look forward to with that game. And then because Trey Young and Jordan Poole, they're gonna go shot for shot for sure. And I mean, look, this for all my friends who are watching this, like who really know me. Back in the day, I was a very showboat type of player. If you know I mean, y'all know my personality, how I can be sometimes. So them two, oh yeah, them two, and then Rondo on the defensive side, and with the defensive side and the passing, them three were the players that you could compare my game a lot to. But that's neither here or there. When we get on the court again, y'all gonna see. I just don't have that same athleticism anymore. I'm a little flabby and sick at the moment, but that could change. Who knows? But the matchup that I'm really excited in that game is going to be Zion and Jalen Johnson, two Duke Blue Devils. Jalen Johnson came a couple of seasons after Zion. Unfortunately, didn't have the infrastructure that Zion had, nor came in with the freshman class that Zion did. But I think Jalen Johnson's talent is immense, right? I think his ceiling is incredibly high. If he didn't get hurt at to finish the year, he would have finished to me as most improved player. I mean, there's nothing he can't do out there on the court, and I think that's going to be a good matchup for Zion, right? You know, a guy that can play both inside and outside. That's going to be good for Zion on the defensive end. So very excited for that matchup. Another matchup that's going to be an interesting one. January 11th versus those Orlando Magic. It's very catchy. Once you hear it, man, it's hard not to hear it. But the Magic, they're a team that surprised folks. But I've been talking about the Magic for a couple of years now. About watch out, they're building a nice team. They've got a great defensive identity, which is rare in today's NBA. But they play physical. If you play against the Magic, you're gonna it's going to be a bloodbath. I mean, the Celtics barely made it out alive. I mean, they won in five, but those were some hard fought games. They had to earn those victories. And they just acquired Desmond Bain this offseason. Yes, for a lot of draft picks and a lot of capital, but I think that was a move that's going to benefit them in the present and potentially longer. I mean, Desmond Bain to me is a very good. He was kind of miscast as a number two in Memphis, but as a number three, perfect. Perfect as a number three. Great floor spacer, can create a shot off the dribble, great locker room guy. You know what I'm saying? Just overall, that was a great pickup for them because look, Franz Wagner, amazing number two. Just like how Trey Murphy, amazing number two. So I'm really liking that matchup. Both very versatile, highly skilled. But the matchup that I really am looking forward to, because look, that defense is no joke. And Jalen Suggs, hats off to him. Although, brother, get a hat because you need to go to Turkey or something. All love. I'm just speaking as someone who was watching you in high school, loved watching your game at Gonzaga. But what the hell is on your head, my man? What is that? What is that? I'm not speaking cocky because I just got, saying cutting and looking fresh and feeling like $1,000,000. But shout out to Luda if y'all catch that. But but what is that? Come on, man. That's just unacceptable. I'm sorry. You have a great game and play style for you to be doing that. I digress. Anyway, though, Zion versus Powell. Now, part of why I'm so hyped or I want Zion to really reach that ceiling is because there are players that could potentially leapfrog Zion. Powell is one of those players. When I watch Powell, there's like shades of young LeBron, young Melo with like a mix of like Kenyon Martin and Amari Stoudemire. All in one. That is a ridiculously impactful and talented player. And they're both Duke guys. They both are very, hard hitting, bruising, can get to the rim. Powell has a very nice post game and jump shot. I'm waiting for Zion to get that. I know he could do it. Knock on wood. So that's going to be a great matchup, though. That's probably going to be on League Pass, and I'm for sure watching that one. And then the final matchup in the Eastern Conference that Chris pointed out that I think is going to be a very good one because both teams are trying to prove themselves in a way, although this team already has a championship, and it's one that doesn't get respected enough. In my opinion, they earned that one fair and square, and it was a great run for them. But the Toronto Raptors on March 11th. Now, one of the biggest. Oh my gosh. One of the most significant things about that matchup is that will be the return of Bi coming back to New Orleans. And though Bi didn't finish his career with us, you know what I'm saying? Bi was a big part of kickstarting the modern era of Pelicans basketball. He was part of that Anthony Davis trade. He came in, won a Most Improved Player, kind of similar to like Trace. Obviously a different situation because Tracy McGrady left the Raptors in free agency, but similar of winning Most Improved Player, being an All Star, and being looked at as a face of the franchise. That's what Bi did when he came over, and it's unfortunate that the injuries and just the instability within the team and the organization, because I truly do feel like Bi could have easily finished his whole career with us and could have been that guy for us, but alas. But I'm hoping things work out in Toronto. Love Bi, Duke Blue Devil forever. They got another Blue Devil that I got a lot of love for, RJ Barrett, who quietly had a great year last year and deserves a lot more respect and props. But I get it. He doesn't have the prettiest of offensive games, but he's very effective, and I think he's going to continue to elevate his game. But they got a nice team, and so they got uh, RJ. They got Scotty Barnes, who I'm very high on as a small forward. I think he'll be an All Star again as long as he stays healthy. They got Grady Dick, who's a very good player. Look, jokes on his name aside, the young man can play. He can play really well. Jacoby Walker, who was one of the more slept on, not slept on, but like as far as like he surprised me in terms of how well he played as a rookie last year. And they still got Jakob Pertl, who's a very underrated big man, classes, same draft as Bi, class of 16. He's carved out a really nice career for himself, especially in recent. And then they got Emmanuel Quickly off the bench. Emmanuel Quickly, class of 19, right? That brother is one of the best off the bench scorers, in like that Lou Williams type of role. So I think like Toronto, like they're going through a transition. Masai Ujiri is no longer there, which I don't know why or what happened, but I'm sure we'll find out soon. But we're also right in a transition, and we're also a team that on paper we've got a lot of depth, we got a lot of talent. It's all about putting it together. It's going to be a little easier for the Raptors to put it together because of mentioned like the Eastern Conference is a lot more wide open than it is in the West. But make no mistake, both teams are trying to prove themselves. So I like that Chris brought that up just because of like the similarity of like we're both trying to prove ourselves. But the Raptors got a championship under the belt. We trying to get to that level, and it's doable. It's attainable. Don't get it twisted. But the Wild Wild West. Now that is really where things get interesting. That's where you really really got to get your popcorn because whoo, not only is the Western Conference been the better conference in the NBA. I mean, which isn't a shock. It's been like that since the 2000s. Um, sans for like a couple of years or whatever like that. But by and large, I mean, talk about that '08 year, the eighth seed that year was the Nuggets who won 50 games. I mean, the Western Conference is never it's largely the best. I would say like probably the '80s is really where it wasn't just because like there was a drop off with like the Lakers and the Rockets and the Sonics and the Suns a couple of years. And this is not the '90s. This is the '80s. This is the '80s. So like a different time, different time. But the East was high key better because you had the Celtics, the Pistons, the Bulls, the Cavaliers, the Bucks, the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? So right now though, the Western Conference is the best conference. Again, 4 of the last 6 champions have came from the Western Conference. The only 2 Eastern Conference champions were the Bucks and the Celtics. And there's some very tough matchups, and we of course are in the toughest division of them all. I don't care what anyone tries to say. We're in the same division with Dallas, who had a great offseason. Houston, who's had a great offseason. San Antonio, who I mentioned earlier, who's also had a great offseason. And look, I'm not going to disrespect the Grizzlies. I'm not going to sleep on them either. They've got some young guys on that team that could potentially do something, right? they might end up doing something. They also got Ty Jerome in free agency. They got Scottie Pippen Jr., so they're loaded in the backcourt in addition with Ja. They got KCP, great veteran. They got Cedric Coward, Jalen Wells, who was an all-rookie first team. And, they still got Jaren Jackson. They got Gigi Jackson, and they got Zach Edey. Zach Edey had a really good rookie year. So, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom for them. They've got a good team. But that's why I say it's not a walk in the park. We're in a very tough conference. We're in arguably the toughest conference. But we're also division. Yeah. And it's a very good conference overall. It's a great conference overall. And like I mentioned, what I'm saying, five of the first 10 matchups are playoff teams. So we got our work cut out for us. And we got a matchup that I really can't wait for, because y'all hear me bring it up a lot. But on November 14th, we're playing against those Lakers. LA, big city of dreams. Lost chips off Lakers, gassed off Shaq, shout out to Biggie. Right? That's going to be must-see TV. LeBron and Luka versus Zion. You couldn't have written up a better script. See what I did there? But Zion versus LeBron, I mean, that's been a great matchup for a while, right? The league has really wanted that. The fans have wanted Zion to become that next face of the league like a LeBron. And by all accounts, Zion plays really well against LeBron. Obviously, that 40-point game, I will never not bring that one up. But the matchup between him versus Luka, I'm very interested in, right? Because it's like this is like the Weight Watchers war. The two guys that get maligned on their weight the most. And I understand the critique on both of their ends, right? And so far, Luka's been in the gym. And I know people were getting on Zion because he was hanging out with some of his friends and all that, but Zion looks a bit lighter, so I'm not worried. So I'm excited for that. It's a very star-studded matchup, and I'm not buying the Lakers as a contender. I'm sorry. So I think as much as I said, I think we can be a 4 through 6 seed. I think that is the Lakers. They're a 4 through 6 seed, which there's no shame in, but the Lakers, right, as a franchise, the pedigree, it's title or bust for them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. They might do something. The NBA might be like, hey, let's help the Lakers out, because I have my theories on how certain things go. But that's neither here or there. But another matchup, November is a month full of some great basketball. But on the 29th, we play the Warriors. Now, that's going to be big because Kevon Looney, that will be a return game for him, and he felt like he had been kind of overlooked and forgotten in the rotation, especially given he's been on the Warriors for all but one of their champions, right? He'd been on 3 of the Warriors championship teams, and that's going to be big for him. I mean, obviously, I'm not expecting big numbers for Kevon Looney, but his impact is going to be felt, make no mistake. But the matchup that I'm really looking forward to, is my guy Jordan Poole, going back to play against those Warriors, and specifically whenever he sees Draymond. Because Draymond has been giving him his flowers. Draymond just gave him his flowers on his podcast. But make no mistake, Jordan Poole ain't forget that punch. Jordan Poole ain't forget that Superman punch that you know what I'm saying? And when I mean Superman, I ain't talking about Clark Kent. Although shout out to the Superman movie, because I saw it last week or whatever. It was fire. Even though Batman is better. Real ones know. But that Roy Jones punch, yeah, that's the Superman I'm talking about. That was there's no justification for that punch. So I don't think Jordan Poole forgot that. The last time he played against the Warriors, he lit them up for 38, and he was talking his talk that whole night. So I want that. I want Jay Poole, Jordan. I want that same energy. Bring that same energy with us in that game. You know what I'm saying? Bring that same energy to New Orleans and go out like that. 38, yeah, do that. 38 special, like the rapper. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very excited for that game. That's gonna be a good one. Plus, Steph, you can't ever forget him. I'm excited to see how Jeremiah fears as a player matches up against him, right? A young guard that plays brash and confident versus a guy that made his name like that. That's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a great one. But the matchup that is really gonna mean a lot, and it's gonna mean a lot on a deep sentimental level, but also just because of like they had a great offseason and they're a team that looks like they're gonna do something. But those Clippers on March 19th, and that's gonna be Chris Paul's return, and it's going to be an emotional game because this will be his final season. Chris Paul is expected to retire after this year, and I was really like pulling and clamoring for us to get Chris Paul and to try to bring him home. And unfortunately, the Clippers gave him an offer he couldn't refuse, and I mean, it is what it is. But those years that Chris Paul had in New Orleans were special. You know what I'm saying? The most playoff success that we had was with him, and he meant everything to the city. He provided so much hope and after Katrina, and just as a pillar off the court. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a night that's going to mean a lot on that sentimental level, with Chris Paul. And hopefully there's just all that love is still there with some good competitive fire. But then as a team, right, those Clippers are no joke because they got Kawhi, John Collins, they got James Harden, Brad Beal, Zubac. I mean, that is a loaded team right there, man. That is a loaded team. They still might have Amir Coffee. I don't know why we haven't given him a call. Me and Chris have both been advocating to get Amir Coffee. Um, but that's gonna be a matchup. That's gonna be a matchup to look out for. So let's get right into these comments, though. But yeah, the West is no joke. The West is not. The West ain't to play with. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be exciting, but I think we can bring it. You know what I'm saying? Bring it, bring it. We ain't bringing drama. Shout out to Pac on the outro for hit him up. But let's get to those comments because responding to y'all. So number one, oh sorry, my stuff is a little Wi-Fi a little bit bugging. But my guy, and I love this name by the way. Love this name because I'm 100% in agreement with you. Walk for Jesus International this 269. Hey, I'm with you on the walk for Jesus, my brother. With you on that. They just be mad and hating because they wanted Queen for themselves and their favorite team. They wanted Fierce too, but they hate that the Pels got both. Now they're trying to manipulate for Zion. They're so mad. No, I swear, I'm like all this weird like hostility and resentment. It's just projection to me. You just mad because your ass is old. No, okay, nah. Shout out to the Bulldogs though. But y'all just mad because you don't got them on your team. That's really what it is. It's like I've yet to hear like objective basketball reasons for why people don't think that it could work. I'm understanding that there are things with their play styles that have to be sorted out and figured out. But let the pros do their job. But just pure as hoopers, all three of them, anybody trying to say they all not nice, I want to know what your definition of nice is, because I must be talking about something it must be a whole different definition. But I am with you on that, man. I am with you on that 100%. They just mad because they ain't got the dogs that we got. They ain't got the young bucks, the young studs that we got, and it's all cool. It's all cool. Anyway, uh, okay, next comment. I, I can't, I can't. Don Guillory, right, my guy. He says, "Stop hyping Trey. He's a second option that dribbles too much and needs to rebound better." Trey averaged over 5 boards a game, and the dribbling. This last year was him showing that he got it to his bag. OG, I'm with you on a lot, and I rock. You one of my favorite. I mean, I love all y'all, but OG, you a day one, so I'm showing love. But Trey is that guy. Watch out, stay tuned. Potential All Star this year if he puts it all together, and I don't think that's crazy to say. Reborn Legacy, E7Z, yeah, Atlanta are our biggest haters. Oh, 100%. They don't even hide it. You go out to Atlanta, as soon as you mention anything New Orleans, whether it's Saints, whether it's Pelicans, or if you just mention Louisiana sports, specifically LSU during college football season, oh yeah. Oh yeah. You might as well have started a fight. I witnessed it. I witnessed it. And now this one was in regard to the potential Trey Young trade. That likely ain't gonna happen, but who knows? If we could put Trey Young with Zion, that's a game changer. Lobs, excitement, threes, dunks, playoffs, more looks for Eve, Missy, yes, because he needs a guard like this who can give him the ball more like Capella. Yes, I say all the time, Eve, Clint Capella, that's a perfect comparison for him. This would be a win-win and a win now move, and I'm all for it. We need this. Trey's the type of point guard we need and the player I've been wanting to get. Murray was a mistake, and he just doesn't fit with the team at all, on or off the court. Ooh, a little spicy. I think DeJounte is great for a city like New Orleans. I think he fits in that regard. But in the pure point guard sense, yes, Trey is a better fit in that regard. Yes, I don't disagree. And that is going to be the biggest storyline that is not being talked about is who is going to be that pure point? Because again, Jordan Poole is a scorer, Jeremiah Fears is a scorer, Jose is like a spark plug type player. Obviously, like Jose did really well. Jose did well when called upon, and Jordan Poole has more point guard skills than people give him credit for, and I think Jeremiah Fears is going to be that guy for us. But we're going to see. And then obviously Dejounte is more of a scorer, but I think Dejounte's point guard game is underrated, and he went through a lot last year. You know what I'm saying with between his injuries and I believe it was like mom or his dad had a stroke and he lost one of his cousins, got killed, and just we didn't provide him the support. So I'm with you on the first part, but I feel like that's an unfair. I feel like that's an unfair cast on Dejounte. He went through a lot last year, in addition to the Achilles injury that he suffered. So I think this year is going to be different. We've got a different culture. We've got a different structure. President Dumars is not David Griffin. He actually played. He knows what it takes. So. And speaking of play, Gerald Tate, 8917, my thoughts exactly. Some can't even dribble. I swear, some of these people who talk the most greasy and grimy can't dribble, can't hit an open three, can't make a lefty layup. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. I'm not saying you got to be an NBA stud to talk about basketball, but if you can't even run up and down the court, can I truly take what you got to say serious? Truly. um, Jordan G437, Pelicanomics, Lafayette. Are you a Lafayette viewer? If you are, much love to you. Appreciate you. Um, Ricky Pronia 2494. Love your show from Lake Charles. That's love right there. And I know like the Lake Charles ties go deep. So salute. Last comment. And this is from Josh. This is from Josh Cross. Honestly, it was a bad decision to trade that pick. We should have not gotten Fears or Queen. You can get a Fears in next year's draft, and Fears would be a late pick or even possibility second round in next year's draft. Queen, I hope becomes a great but wasn't needed. And yes, you're right. Next draft will be great. I believe you. Yes. So yes, I would have kept my pick. I'm not in your favorite of this year's draft. I'm only high on a few guys. Most will be role players and G leaguers, in my opinion. If Reed Shepard hasn't even found his footing, I'm not sold on a lot of the guys this draft who are weaker, but I believe we'll compete. I'm a fan of yours, my guy. Just have a different outlook. Blessing, brother. Well, hey, Josh, I don't agree with you on a lot of this comment, but I appreciate the props, and I do appreciate just how you broke it down. So I do want to say major respect to you, even if I don't agree, because I'm going to say this. Again, my biggest stance on why I say, like, yes, trading the pick was crazy. I don't deny that. It was crazy. But sometimes you got to go out the box. You got to do something that's a little unconventional. The thing that I will say about next year's draft, it is super talented, but top heavy. Now, that could all change when the season really kicks off, because some people did kind of have that thought process with this draft. But as the season wore on, like pretty early, it was apparent that no, there's a lot of depth. This draft, I'm up in the air about that. I know the talent is great up top. I think the prospects up top have more star potential than this past draft. But the overall encompassing, bulk, totality. I think this class 2025 has more. That's just my personal stance. You know what I'm saying? Agree to disagree, but and then with Jeremiah Fears and Queen, I think both add a lot of value. Now, it is going to be interesting to see how things play out because with Derek Queen, do you put him at the 4? Do you put him at the 5? Because where does Eve fit? Where does Zion fit? Right? Zion is the face of the franchise. So how does that work? So on that level, yes. How does that mesh work? I'm interested and intrigued to see how we make it work. Then with Jeremiah Fears, right? We're loaded in the backcourt with DeJounte, with Jordan Poole we traded for, with Jose Alvarado. How does that work? We might be getting Malcolm Brogdon. How does that work? So in the sense of like how everyone fits, I do get you on that, right? Because it is going to be interesting. And Willie's got his work cut out for him. So we're going to see on that. But with next year's draft, I think it's going to be great. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's going to be top heavy. So that's just my stance and opinion on why I feel like we were better. Like we're going to be fine, right? We're going to be more than fine. People are going to look back and say President Dumars was a genius, but I could be wrong too. Who knows? I'm just knock on wood. I'm hoping that I am right. But I appreciate it. Nonetheless, though, Josh, I do want to say though I do appreciate the time that you took to write that comment. Much love. But yeah, this video is getting kind of long, which I know is oxymoronic for me to say, but I'm trying to be a little bit more concise with these. But much love, y'all. Continue to stay blessed. I got my work cut out for me. Got to hit this drive in the AM, but I'm excited. Can't wait for y'all to see the new spot, the new digs, and appreciate y'all for being on this journey with me so far. You know what I'm saying? And I hope I can run into some of y'all in person one day, and we can talk ball in person. Y'all can, I'm the same person on and off the mic. You feel me? I might be a little bit more fun. But anyway, y'all, much love. Continue to show support. Like, share, subscribe. Shout out to Fan Arch. They're doing their thing. Amazing company. Great group of individuals. And yeah, stay tuned for more content. Stay tuned for more Pelicans news. We're getting closer and closer, y'all. I'm so excited. So stay tuned and stay blessed. Ciao.